Travel to Cuba continues to rise, and many American businesses are venturing to the communist island to research business opportunities. Our Hatzovella, the one and only reporter from a local television station in the U.S. to report from inside Cuba, ran into a group from the Carolinas.
Port Avenue has become sort of a central hub for tourists. You can see some of the buses standing by as tourists get on. And then to my right, you see the Plaza de San Francisco. That's where you often see tourists walking throughout Old Havana. We got together with one of the groups from Charlotte, politicians, travel agents. They're here, they tell us, because they want to get the cultural experience, but they also want to see if it is feasible to create a long-term relationship.
1762, Havana was taken by the British.
They surround a tour guide in order to ask and get as much info as possible. This one is a short 3-day trip from Charlotte, where American Airlines has a major hub and now has direct flights to and from Cuba.
I started my career.
Brent Cagle is the aviation director at Charlotte's International Airport, where passengers are starting to notice the new destination.
That was one of the draws for me to come on this trip, was to understand what Cuban culture is about and really see a part of the world that seems so remote but is really so close to Charlotte.
They were always doing their exercise outside with the arms and all this. That's why this became the Arms Square.
At the Plaza de Armas, we chat with Vi Lyles, a member of the Charlotte City Council, who says she recognizes the deep history between both countries. She thinks this is a chance to develop a stronger relationship.
It's really a chance for us to learn about the relationships that we can have with the Cuban people.
For Americans outside of South Florida, Cuba is still a mystery, and many do not understand the pain and complicated history between the people on both sides of the Florida Straits.
We need to educate each other, but we also need to work with each other.
First time to Cuba. It's been on my bucket list for a long time.
Dennis Lewis runs World Travel Service for Americans. He says Cuba is unique, a place inaccessible for decades. That's what makes it appealing, but he says many Americans still have misconceptions about Cuba.
So they want to see Havana as they picture in their mind the original Havana to be.
As a travel agent, he feels his job is to make sure Americans know this is not a typical destination.
You end up with two emotions at the same time. One is you see this beautiful architecture that dates back 1-2 centuries, and then there's a sadness because it's been allowed to be run down, and people are obviously compromised financially.
Americans, he says, will have to come here knowing what to expect.
If you don't adjust that expectation, you're going to have some people that might be a little uncomfortable.
You talk to most of the folks in this group and they'll tell you that they do want to come back, especially the travel agent who wants to create a program so that folks from America can come back and see not just the cultural side of Cuba, but also the realities of the Cuban people here on the island. I'm Hatzovella, Local 10 News, Havana.